Hi again. So after yesterday's video, which seemed to go down really well, thanks to everybody for their comments, really appreciated. My friend Steve asked me if I could do something on stress, which is a massive topic at the moment. Stress is related to so many different illnesses. I was looking at something recently that now they're relating stress to Alzheimer's, which is the latest one, but it's also related to a lot of cancers. Definitely heart disease. That's why I've called this stress the silent killer, which is not a new concept. So it's really important that we understand stress. I think understanding it helps. First of all, stress, again, like I've said before about a lot of things, stress is natural. It goes all the way back to, if you're a human being, you're going to get stressed. Okay, I don't know what, like I've said before, I don't know what the likes of Gandhi and Jesus and Buddha, maybe they didn't get stressed, I don't know. I'm guessing that they probably did, but who knows? I'm guessing towards the end of their lives, maybe they had a handle on it. But stress is natural. It goes back all the way in our DNA, all the way back in our genes. It goes, sorry, my friend Rich has just put, oh no, I'm buggered then. Rich, you're not buggered, you can deal with it. But it goes all the way back to our cavemen, cavewomen days. So if we look at it, it's a survival mechanism. Stress helps us to survive. A little bit of stress is good. Without stress, we probably wouldn't be here. It's a motivator. It gets us to do things. If you go back to cavemen, cavewomen days, their biggest stressors would have been obviously surviving. They're being attacked by a wild animal. People always say about saber-toothed tigers. I'm not sure if they even existed. But they would have been, their biggest threat would have been just survival. Other tribes, which is debatable as well, because if you look at evolution, some people say that in those days, early man actually did live together. So maybe we could learn something from that. But so their biggest stressors would have been, like I said, I know when I talk I go off on tangents because this is stuff that I'm quite passionate about, but survival, stress was there to help them survive. So they're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. This is where fight or flight kicks in. There's a third F there. It's not a swear word, it's freeze. A lot of people freeze when they get a massive burst of adrenaline. But they're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. They've got to decide in a split second whether to run or whether to fight. And that's what stress does. Stress helps them to make that decision. It'll give a massive burst of adrenaline, cortisol, and lots of other hormones as well. Massive chemical reactions are going on in the body. In the body, we've got, I can't remember the figures on this, it's either 40 billion cells or 70 billion cells. But that's a hell of a lot. You could fit thousands of these little cells on a pinhead. But the thing to remember is that every single cell in your body has got intelligence. It knows what its job is, it knows what it's supposed to do, it even knows when to die to make way for new cells. This is one of the theories as to why we get cancer, because something happens in the cell and the cell doesn't die when it's supposed to, and the cells keep mounting and mounting, and it can turn into a tumour, which obviously is what cancer is. So something's gone wrong with the intelligence in that cell. But stress has been proven to affect the cell's intelligence. So the problem is today, obviously we're not normally faced by saber-toothed tigers or wild animals, but stressors today are very different. I'm doing some of these talks to kids in schools, and they'll tell you that their biggest stressors are things like the internet's not working, what their friends are putting on social media about them. Relationships are a big stressor. The fact that they haven't got money to go and buy the latest phone or the latest clothes or things like that. These are all the types of stressors that people get today, and we've all got them, relationships, work, time, all of those things can be stressors. The people around us can stress us out. So this mechanism that was designed to help us to survive, with a lot of us now, is going into overdrive all the time over little things that are not life or death anymore. But in our brains, we think that they are. Your brain will think that they are, even though it's not. So it's really important to recognise the stress and to recognise the fact that all of these things that stress us out are having a massive impact on our body. A little bit of stress is good, but if you're getting stressed all the time, It's really, this helped me to realise that actually if I'm getting stressed all the time, I'm actually making myself ill, which is important because do I want to make myself ill over whatever? Do I want to make myself ill over the fact that I can't get an internet connection? Not really. It's another message here from Alan. If I recognise I'm stressed, I make myself change my mood. We need to rehearse a mechanism to do this once we feel the signs, which is really good as well. It's real, like I said, but for me, realising that if I'm getting stressed all the time, I'm potentially making myself ill. Do I want to get ill over this? Of course I don't. So, you know, can I change the way I'm thinking about this situation? Normally I can. For me, one of the stresses that I realised, is a real life example for you, is that, you know, I hate being late. I've got a thing about being late for people. I don't mind if people are late for me. Whenever I go and meet my friend Aidan in Ireland, you know, whenever I'm working with Aidan in Ireland, Aidan's always late, you know, but when he meets me, he comes on, we normally start laughing. And Aidan will tell me, you know, I'm on Irish time. You're in Ireland now, Tony, you're on Irish time. He's really laid back about time. And it's not a problem. We normally end up just laughing about it. But when I'm here, if I've got to meet somebody, I always like to be early. And I remember one day I was driving over to meet a client in Leamington, at my office in Leamington. I was doing some therapy work with them. And the traffic was horrendous. There was an accident. And I remember I was sitting in my car, stuck in this traffic, bumper to bumper. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be late here if I'm not careful. And I could feel myself getting stressed. I could feel the stress coming up. It was actually becoming tangible. And I actually took a step back and I thought to myself, okay, Tony, what's going on here? Right, what's the stressor? I'm going to be late. Okay, so there's a chance here that you're going to be late. Then what? This was the story playing out in my head. The client's going to be really angry with me because I'm late. Okay, so they're angry with you. Then what? They might not come back, so I've lost the client. Okay. You've lost the client, then what? They might tell other people, you know, don't go and see him, he's always late. Okay, so then what? Then I lose loads of clients. Then what? Then I lose money. I can't make a living. Then what happens? Then I can't pay my mortgage. Then what happens? Well, then I lose my house. Then I lose my family. Then, you know, I feel like a failure and I'm not good enough. And it's back to those old core beliefs that I know that I've got sitting in me about failure and not being good enough. And when I sat back and I analysed that situation, the fact that I might be 10, 15, even 5 minutes late was tapping into this old story that I was playing in my mind. If I was late, the client probably wouldn't mind. You know, they wouldn't be bothered. I'd apologise and say, look, there's been an accident. I'm really sorry. I'm sure they'd be okay with it. Would they not come and see me again? There's a chance, but very unlikely. We'd built up a good relationship. Would they say to other people, don't go and see him, you know, because he's always late? I'm never late. Very, very rarely am I late. You know, would I lose my house? I doubt it. Very unlikely. Would I lose all my family and my friends? Very unlikely. I think they'd stick beside me no matter what. So again, it was like realising that I was playing these old tapes, and this situation of being possibly 5-10 minutes late was tapping into this old story that I was telling myself. So, you know, Alan's right about it's changing the way you're thinking. Is this situation worth getting stressed over? Because potentially I'm making myself ill here. When our body goes into fight or flight mode, it closes down the systems that it doesn't need. So things like your sexual systems close down, your growth systems close down, but most importantly, your immune system starts to close down because your body's just thinking about survival at that moment in time. And that's one of the theories as to why stress makes us so ill. You know, quite often if you run down, you'll get a cold, you'll get maybe cold sores. But if that stress continues, and remember, this is something that's supposed to be good for us, it's supposed to help us. If we've got too much of that stress, it actually becomes harmful and it starts to close down your immune system, and that's when it starts to have the effect on all the different cells in our body. And Andy's coming on here and saying counting to 10 helps, but it's hard to do when you're really stressed. It is. Once you're in that situation and once you're stressed, it is hard to step out of it, take a step back and look at what's really going on here. Is this worth getting stressed over, and why am I getting stressed over it? You know, what tape am I playing in my head? So counting to 10 is brilliant. Taking a deep breath, counting to 10. I used to think those things were really cheesy, but they actually do work. I'm working through the process here. What's the worst case scenario here? What am I thinking about? Why am I, they call it catastrophizing, the fact that I might be 5-10 minutes late? You know, why am I catastrophizing that? It doesn't matter. I'm 5 or 10 minutes late, so what? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps, Steve. You know, it's a big topic, but I like to keep these little videos really short. So I hope that helps. But obviously it is about breaking that pattern. You know, if you can step in and break that pattern, then it's going to break the pattern of you being stressed all the time. That's if you are getting stressed all the time. And realising that most of the stuff we get stressed over, is it life or death? You know, like I said, that's a mechanism that our bodies have evolved to help us fight life or death situations. You know, because I haven't got an internet connection, because I'm going to be late, it doesn't mean that I'm going to die. And I need to remember that. But if I keep hanging on to that stress, there's a very good chance that I'm going to make myself really ill, which could lead to the very thing that I'm scared of. So I hope that makes sense, Steve. If not, ask me again. I'm happy to go into anything. If anybody's got any questions or any topics that they want to talk about, you know, I'll do my best and go through it. And as always, if anyone wants to work with me, just give me a shout as well. I'm happy to work over, you know, 6-week sessions with people in the gym and do some training and do some work together as well, or just one-to-one stuff or telephone stuff. Just give me a shout. And like I said, if anybody's got any questions, fire them at me. And also, thanks again for the feedback on the site, guys. It really does help. It helps when you can see people are engaging and people are putting little comments on there and asking questions. It's brilliant. So, like I said, I've probably gone on more than I want to, but enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for listening and watching. Thank you.